welcome to our 9 AI Talk session. This time we're in the middle of the summer, and that was the reason why we had some challenges this morning. We weren't able to go live because with Nikki we're on separate vacation, and it brings some challenges to stream live on YouTube when people are on separate vacation. Nikki done his best, but unfortunately we had issues with noise cancellation, etc. So that's why we decided to record the meeting. I hope that this would be last time when we do it that way, but feel free to drop messages, questions directly in the YouTube comment section, and we'll try to address them as fast as possible.
Yeah, I think we always try and do our best to be live because that's the way we like it. But I think this is one of the only times that of all of the sessions that we didn't go live. But you can understand it's the middle of the summer.
Yep, indeed. Also, before starting, just to warn you that I'm on Starlink connectivity, Starlink devices, which may introduce some delays because, as you know, that Starlink satellites are not in full capacity until the Starship take place and being able to deploy enough satellites in order to cover the entire planet smoothly.
Yeah.
So straight to the point. As usual, we'll start with the updates, and next we'll continue with the appropriate planning for the AI adoption strategy execution, which was the main topic. The strategy, AI adoption strategy, was the main topic in our previous session. You can check the recording in our channel. So,
yep, we have a ton of news. I mean, it's the summer. Usually people are on vacation, but not AI. Even worse than last year. Remember when last year we thought that the summer was very hectic with all things happening, but this summer is even worse from that perspective.
Actually, it's worse from that perspective, but it's such a better, and it's really great. I like that you made this connection with the last year, and I can imagine how much more competitors and builders, creators are right now in the field. There's I would say every 2-3 days there's new model out from multiple companies, of course the major one mainly, but yeah, the new models, especially the open source models, are popping up like crazy, and which is absolutely great.
You're right. I think everybody's working around the clock, hoping that their competitors will be on vacation. But it's like everybody's working full time.
Absolutely. So maybe we can start with at least based on our point of view. Absolutely, the biggest and most important update was the new Llama 3.1 family models. Again, big kudos to Meta for make them open source. There were a lot of let's say discussion in the social network that their biggest model will not be open source. It will not be with open weights, etc. But at the end, we have it. I mean, and it's really GPT-4 Turbo or 4.0, I would say almost. But yeah, it's a GPT-4 Turbo quality.
Yeah, depending on the size, we are really excited about the 8 billion parameter model and the 70 billion, obviously, because these are the things that we actually can test out and try. The 405, we only seen it on hosted services. It's already available in AWS, Azure, Grok, and kind of the big players over there. They have it, but from the open source perspective and allowing more AI adoption, the 8 and 17 billion parameters are just insanely good at what they are. They're open weights, how you can customize them, fine tune them. I mean, the Meta has really given a present to the community and I would say the world, I guess. from a perspective. So really exciting for sure.
Absolutely, and we saw some interesting ways of running their largest model of 405 billion parameters using XOLABS solution, which you can pair, let's say, two Mac Pros with M3 Maxes and max out memory, because I think it's required 225 or so megabytes of video RAM. So with two max out MacBook Pros, you're able to run their biggest model, and we can't wait to get the new M4 family MacBooks, where hopefully we'll have more and we'll have M4 Ultra, where I think M4 Ultra will be able to run every open source model out in the next few years.
Yeah, this distributed way of using inference engines would really be beneficial as a research. I mean, the XOLABS thing is still in sort of a preview beta state, but it technically allows you to hook different Apple devices that support MLX. I mean, you can technically run the 405 billion parameter on about 50 iPhones or something.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to see that as a development, because the 405 billion parameter, although it's not really accessible to us as from a capacity perspective, I think in the long run, a lot of different mods and modifications of that model will come around, different quantizations of the model itself. So yeah, I think generally when Meta deploys new models, it's always exciting for the whole open source community. You can, if you check Hugging Face, you can see how many models come after that based on these foundational models. So yeah.
If you remember, the entire open source lay down to the first Llama version. So
exactly.
It's actually they start. I would say the recent. Yeah, we can say that they start the recent open source large language models. So, but again, as Nikki mentioned, the 70B and 8B 3.1 to Llama version improvements are big. It's really big, and you can expect absolutely same, at least based on our tests using on daily basis. You can expect absolutely the same token per second performance, but with much higher quality. So.
Exactly.
Big kudos to Meta, and looking forward to what's come next. By the way, just to mention, I think we discussed this in the previous session, but George Holtz with his TinyCorp, it's also working and have similar solution to XOLABS of distributing inference. So we'll see how this will evolve. At the end, it's really, this is more for research purposes, and at the moment, the performance, let's say, it requires much more, let's say, capacity from hardware perspective. For by the way, we weren't able, I think, to discuss on our last session, but you know that there's big movement. We discussed it multiple times, that there's big movement in the hardware, specialized hardware for inference. So these large models most probably would be more feasible and will become more, how to say, commercial, or people to be able to run them on their devices with specialized silicons.
Yep. I mean, we really want to get our hands on something like this at some point, just to experiment. We've played around with GPUs for a while, and we want to see how this would work out, especially the new concepts with AI PCs and kind of integrated inference capabilities. So yeah. So a day after the announcement, or 2 days after the announcement, we saw the other favorite player in the open source arena, Mistral. They don't want to be left behind in terms of the kind of the high end model, so they published in their usual manner, not really marketing anything, not posting videos like Mark Zuckerberg or being guests on podcasts. They just drop either a torrent file or a post somewhere on their site.
With the torrent link.
Yeah, exactly. And the Mistral Large tool got dropped what was it, a 123 billion parameter model, which at least from a um, code perspective is on par with the 405 billion parameter. In their own words, it's still fairly inaccessible to most people because this will require well over 2 GPUs to run, which puts you in a different category. But if you have specialized hardware at home or you have an enterprise environment, maybe that's something that you already kind of got into. Yeah, there's some unique capabilities. It's not well-rounded as kind of the Llama models. It's more specialized in code generation and to some extent reasoning, but Bolt is definitely the highlight from what I saw. I mean, I think it's the best model for coding right now.
Yep, and also it's good for mathematics exercises, etc. And by the way, you can run it with your MacBook if you have it with 128 gigabytes of memory. It's this is, I would say, it's absolutely the best piece of hardware that you can buy nowadays if you're in the AI field. But don't tell everyone because we don't want the prices to become ridiculously expensive. Which they are, but yeah, anyway. So good job to Mistral as well. We really appreciate all the great work to everybody contributing to the open source. Definitely our point of view is that AGI should be open source. We're really optimistically looking forward for open source AGI, and we do not believe that closed source models shall be there would be big difference between closed source and open source, which was actually the situation last year, if you remember, when you make this connection. Last year there weren't anyone in the open source field. It was just Llama, which was far behind GPT 3.5 and not comparable at all with GPT-4. And now with 70 billion parameter, you have very good quality. By the way, we didn't mention, but based on some of the feedback in the social network to us, mainly X and LinkedIn, but the biggest improvement people see in the 70 billion parameter. So, which most probably is, I'm not sure what do you think, but it may be the biggest focus of the enterprises, let's say, most suitable for let's say on small, medium-sized business and enterprises. So
yeah, because you can build. I mean, the 70 billion parameter one is like very close to GPT-4 performance in terms of it sits between maybe on a GPT-4o performance. I don't know. It really depends on the task, but it's fairly close. And if you have the hardware to run this at a reasonable speed, so if you get something like 100 tokens per second on a good hardware somewhere, this can be the basis of a lot of your automations, your chatbots, and you don't pay anything pretty much. It's it's a great opportunity. You will be able to fine tune this or training this. Fine tuning is one, training is a different beast altogether. But even out of the box, it's a great model. I think generally they will continue on this path where they have 3 versions of the models, where you have a super speedy one, you have a middle size, something that would fit most needs, and you have a very good reasoning engine, or the best model in the big one.
I also don't think that the really big model above even 400 billion parameters are pretty big will become, let's say, used by the mass people and organization, and until we have the specialized hardware, at least for inference.
Runs it in a reasonable speed, but it's still it's expensive to run. Yeah, that's why. That's why on the chart for performance versus price cost, the 70 billion is probably the best one, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely makes sense. I was thinking about these large models. I saw in the recent weeks that there were 1 trillion dropped in Hugging Face. I wasn't
Okay.
able to check it at all, but just
Who
saw
runs
that.
this?
I just wondered, oh, who run this? And because we can run it at all at the moment, so not interested much. And as I said, the performance would be very. If it's, by the way, a mixture of expert, this is the only way when you can have some reasonable speed. I saw people trying to run 405 billion parameters version on some server hardware, and they're getting 0.4 tokens per second, which is absolutely unusable in any for anything.
On CPU.
On CPU, yeah, and some server hardware, some Epic, but no.
Even with their fast memory access, it couldn't cope. Yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
The question here really is, when is the good time to buy hardware for local inference? Is it now, since we're getting very good open source models? Do we have to wait for kind of prices to go down? Because, ever since NVIDIA stock kind of skyrocketed, it's super expensive to buy AI hardware. There's a lot of options, but still, the initial investment is hefty. And that's why people are still turning to the cloud for the most part right now, until they figure out, okay, AI has been adopted. Great. We can talk about this later on the segment, but I'm thinking, when is a good time to buy the hardware that you need to run the best high-end models?
Yep, there is definitely a lot of options, and as we mentioned multiple times, this year we will show you some. But you mentioned price performance, so there is also big improvement in that direction. This time coming from OpenAI, and since our last session, they dropped GPT-4o Mini, which is absolutely amazing, and it's really the best price performance model, which also have vision capabilities, because the last one is really important.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can talk about it because I guess people are lucky that we're recording this today, because just like 10 hours ago, Microsoft officially enabled the API for GPT-4o Mini. So you can use it through Azure OpenAI. Just tested it out. And, it's exactly what you expect of, compared to what we were using in the OpenAI chat interface. You get about half of the latency, so it's very speedy compared to GPT-4o, although GPT-4o is a very fast model when you think about it, and compared to the previous versions. But 4o is faster. It's a lot cheaper. Just looking at the list price.
So it was like 30 times, I would say, more than 30 times.
I need to compare the latest pricing. I forgot the numbers, but it's multiple times cheaper.
I think it was 15. I saw them yesterday. It was 50 cents compared to $5.
Maybe it's 5 cents to 15 cents to 1.1 cent. At least 3 or 4 times. Yeah, we can. People on the call, can actually check this out. But the great thing about this is, like you said, it has the vision capabilities, because vision is turning to be a big thing in the enterprise, being able to, although I still see people who prefer the specialized vision models compared to having this in the Omni ones. But 4o Mini has a lot of potential to be that super use case for most things, summarization, and you can cut the cost down. Right now, it's only available in one region in Azure, which is East US. And they have a global deployment which spans across other regions. But if you want to have the lower latency, you'll probably use the regional deployment. But still, I think just they're going to be pushing this out to more places, and they're going to give enough capacity. And also, I've spoken to Microsoft recently, and they're going to announce GPT-4o Mini being available as a PTU offering as well. So PTU gives you the kind of the procured capacity, yeah. And once you figure out what are your needs, and if you can satisfy this, you can really cut on the cost, as well as, you know, have a better quality of the service itself. Well, we've used PTUs before, and I have some impressions about it, but it really makes sense if you have your load coming in constantly. If you're just exploring OpenAI models, it's not for you yet. But yeah, we are really excited. I think a lot of people don't really recognize how big of a deal 4o Mini actually is. 3.5 is still used in so many places through the API. Not everybody's spending the big bucks to get 4o. So 4o Mini and its comparable pricing with 3.5 makes it a huge deal for the enterprise use.
It's just confirmed 30 times difference
30
in the price.
Okay.
As I said, 15 cents with $5 if you consume it from OpenAI. I'm not sure how it is with Azure OpenAI, but this is big deal for developers, for people which are really building solution using these services. Because at the end, as Nikki mentioned, 4o Mini, it's cheaper than GPT 3.5. Imagine that. It's right now. So now you can have really, because this was the major challenges. A lot of people jump in, start developing solution which really requires a lot of tokens, a lot of interaction with the models, and then the solution become really expensive. So as we know, the lower the price, people start build more faster and better solution at the end. So kudos to OpenAI for going in that direction. Talking about this, I'll connect it directly with the next thing. We'll pause a bit the new model announcement, because there's also another models, but this is another improvement that OpenAI just want to bring the AI to everybody. They really want to accelerate the adoption by lowering the price, by making their servicing to be able to people to be able to use them easier. And another announcement that helps this was their CertGPT prototype, and also the start of the rollout of OpenAI voice functionality. I'm constantly checking, not sure about you, but I'm constantly checking almost 3 times per day to check if I'm on the lucky one. Not yet, unfortunately, but yeah, this happened.
Some YouTubers are already posting videos about people who received this update. It's really interesting. I mean, it's impressive, to say the least.
Really. Yep.
I was thinking about the use cases of, this even for kind of nefarious purposes, and that's why I think OpenAI has really postponed this, because they thought this could actually fool people to do stuff. And that's why they wanted to implement a lot of security mechanisms. But it's a losing battle, if you ask me. I don't think they can deal with it. We'll see. But I'm really hopeful that we'll get it sometime soon. I don't know on what basis. We're probably not going to get it as early as we want to, because we're not based in the States, and I am thinking the States will probably get this first.
Yep. So, but you see, I hope you're wrong. Anyway, so we can't wait for the voice functionalities try out, but also this CertGPT prototype that they released earlier. Actually, it was lately last week, if I'm not mistaken, but they jumped directly against Google and also like what Perplexity did. So this would be interesting competition. We can have some forecast what would happen, because you know that Google is paying Apple like I think 20 billion per year for having Google as default search engine. And you know that there were some recent deals signed between OpenAI and Apple, which can be one of the reasons why Microsoft step out of the board of directors. But anyway, we're not going to speculate further. But the thing is that this may change, and this would be big win for both Apple and OpenAI. So we may expect that the GPT become, let's say, somehow available and easy to use in the new iOS.
Yep.
So they mentioned that they're partnering with even with I'm not sure about Perplexity, but in the news release they mentioned that they're partnering with some of the major medias and creators, so and news agencies. So they would take seriously, you know, all of the compliance and data challenges that they had in the past. If you remember, there were some lawsuits in that direction.
Right.
But yeah, looking forward, we'll see. Another very interesting model that was released by Google was Gemma 2. It is a small model, just 2 billion parameters. It is a model which can be run, as Nikki mentioned, on all of these small devices, on your personal laptop, even in your browser. And so far, the feedback is that it's performing pretty well, because it's very easy to fine tune, because it's a small model. So it can be something really good for the companies looking for having this way of distributed AI running on the people's laptops, instead, as Nikki mentioned, to design and think how to build some kind of serious centralized hardware for inference. Of course, for training, that's not the case, but for inference, this is really good option. Yeah, I think it's the last update which we noticed. We weren't able to test it. It was SAM 2. It was also released by Meta, absolutely open source, freely to use. You can download it. They have a repo explaining everything how it can be used. And this is segment anything model. As you know, Meta is really working in how to say, in multiple directions, if we can say that way. So they run also AI Studio, which we may touch a bit later. But with this model, you can segment any object from your video. You can edit it much easier. There's tons of videos. You can try it out by yourself. But yeah, it's in general identify which pixel belong to the target object in the images and videos, and it make the editing really easy and available to everyone. So also
they have a lot of experience with mixed reality. They own a couple of companies. They do exactly this. They wanted to get in the metaverse space. So yeah, I think Meta has been underestimated for the past couple of years. Remember how its stock went down, how people thought their company will go broke after Apple removed its revenue from the App Store, but they really turned things around, and they want us. I mean, we generally hate Facebook by default and all of their products. But when it comes to Gen AI and models, they are really up there. I mean, there's nothing much to hate about them from that perspective.
Yep. Together with Smelt, yeah, absolutely. So again, kudos and big win for open source world. So I think that's it. There were some other things like Microsoft quarterly results were out. There's some recent challenges for Microsoft, and the stocks drops a bit. But just quick comment that we believe people underestimate their investment in large infrastructure focused on running AI in general. So that may have some small impact of what people expect to and what they get at the end. But Wall Street is not our how to say speciality, so we're not going in that direction. So let's move to the main topic for today, which is actually the plan phase. If you remember our cloud adoption framework, this is the next phase after you have the vision, you have the AI Center of Excellence, which helps you to build your strategy. And as a next phase, it's time to plan how to execute this strategy, because you already have all ingredients in order to do that. So as a first step, it is to gather and evaluate use cases. Remember that in these steps, actually, you have to see where to put your effort and the effort of the AI Center of Excellence. How to structurally, let's say, approach this. We can connect it to the remember, for the cloud adoption, we had this kind of identify the work walls and see how to transform them. Remember the 5 hours, 7 hours, what to do them, etc., and to see which are the most suitable of them. But here it's really important to start working within the people in your organization. You might do some workshop with the business units. What important to mention here, and what would help you comparing to the let's say with the cloud adoption, is that if you remember, we discussed that there is, in the initial phase, there would be some kind of communication with the entire organization. So this communication with the entire organization will make people prepared, and even it may help you, and it may bring some of the people from the business directly coming to you with use cases, because as we know, this is at least the general experience for large organizations. Usually the business is moving faster than the IT in general. So they may already knocking out your door with the use cases that and yeah, this will simplify your work.
Or they may already have purchased the software to do the use cases. That's something that we've seen as well.
Yep, but this is really depend on how you approach the overall cycle, because usually this happens when you don't have strategy at all, or you didn't approach.
Or you're too small to adopt.
Exactly. So in this phase, with the identification of use cases, you have to your team, AI COE, should really work hard with everybody on the business, and also not only on the business, but as we discussed previously, these people have to follow all the trends and actually the capabilities of the current AI and the forecasting what would happen, as we discussed with Nikki about specialized hardware. Of course, it will not make sense to invest hugely right now in GPUs just for inferences. Let's say learning 405 billion parameters for something that can wait. Let's say that's important, that can wait. But in general, we have to encourage that everybody should come with some proposal. I mean, as some people say, no idea is a bad idea. So it's better to have something than nothing. But we believe that in nowadays this will not be a problem. There's tons of use cases for every single domain, whatever. So it would be pretty easy to find the use cases for your specific situation. So after you have the list of use cases, it's you don't have the capacity to run them all, right? So, and what we expect is that you may have more use cases than the capacity to run them. And imagine that this is, remember that this is the planning phase. So you're not getting the use case and proceed them through the pipeline. You have to have a good way to evaluate the use cases. So in large organization, this may require to have some kind of structure way, build some kind of framework, some criteria where you can evaluate things like, I mean, how they are aligned with your business objectives, what would be the impact of your organization. It could be financial, non-financial. How feasible are they at the moment, as we mentioned about the current technical, both the maturity of your organization and capabilities of your, let's say, infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, but also the maturity of the specific solutions that may help. Let's say if you have use case where you would like to use quantum computing, maybe it would make sense to wait. Let's say that way. You have to also know about, you have to see for these use cases what kind of data you have and what is the data quality. We'll discuss this a bit later. How complex is this? You know that usually you should follow the low-hanging fruits, the things that can be done easily and can have some impact. Imagine this is coming from the cloud adoption. The majority of frameworks said that, and that's what people usually do, is that the first project should not have big impact on the organization, but they should have some, at least, because they will be the, let's say, the starting point. So they should be able to roll out the wheels, if I can say that way. And
yeah, I was about to say that usually there's a struggle between what the leadership of the company wants to do. They want to focus on the kind of the high value initiatives where we can save a bunch of money up front. And but that's mostly complex work that's not suitable for an initial use case. But yeah, I think it's from the perspective of an enterprise, usually, especially now, when you announce that you want to gather the use cases like this, people get excited because they had an idea even before the COE was born. Usually, AI is such a hype right now. They already heard what it can do. They thought about what they can do in their own work, and now they were waiting on something that will allow them to test this use case. So by the time you announce that you want to identify use cases and you want to gather them, there are probably going to be plenty of people who are going to be kind of suggesting and saying and figuring out what the impact would be. But for the most part, I think they should have a financial impact because this is a way to get them approved. No financial impact is usually tougher to pull through, although it's possible. I mean, it can have a different impact. Maybe it will be cultural, maybe from a team perspective, organizational. But I definitely feel that right now, given the state of the economy, when CEOs or leadership people hear about something that we can save directly with AI initiatives, that's something that they want to do first.
Yeah, that you brought a good point. It's that's the reason why first the majority of things could be converted to financial.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
time,
indirect.
everything can be converted.
Yeah.
But as you said, it should not be like playing around, especially for let's say with large investment, etc. But here it's the importance of two things related to AI COE. First of all, to trust them, because you hire them to tell you how to do and what to do. You didn't hire them to tell them what to do and how to do it. That's the important part. And second, to empower them, because going with these use cases will require some, let's say, the business units to spend some time with them, and this could also, let's say, become like a challenges. So Each stage is important. Remember, all of these should be addressed in the leadership part, where you should have the clear messages, clear vision, clear objectives. So as Nikki mentioned, the objectives should be measurable, and of course, we would be able to measure them with some financial way, and all of these use cases should be aligned with the objectives at the end.
Right.
So last but not least is the regulatory and ethical considerations. So keep in mind that this is something that you may take in place, especially in some organization. The compliance standards, etc. Should that's where you have to decide that in the next phase you decided how to run your solution and what kind of large language models you can use on-prem, closed source, open source, and etc.
Mhm.
So imagine that you have the use cases. You have some framework even that identify the impact, how feasible are they, about the current situation with the data on a high level, how complex they are. Then, of course, the easiest way and the next step is to prioritize them, because as we mentioned, you don't have the capacity at this moment to run everything through this AI COE pipeline, if we can say that way. So we have to prioritize the use cases that make most sense. You can put some scores of these criteria. Of course, you can put some importance of these criteria through. I would say that there's a lot of ways to do that. I don't think it makes sense to go in details. Maybe Nikki, if you'd like to share some thoughts on this.
For the prioritization?
Yeah, how you prioritize stuff in your experience.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, there are multiple factors usually in play. Sometimes it's just basically what is the like we already discussed, what is the biggest impact to the whole organization? It can be a complex equation, like monetary, from what are the biggest issues that AI can solve immediately as a capability. A lot of companies try and create this evaluation criteria, and it's really a project management kind of metrics, but with the kind of the coloring of AI. What capabilities we currently have? Do we have enough AI inference capabilities to actually satisfy this as a need? But most use cases for AI are really small. I mean, the POC phases they're really small. So in my experience so far, there's no need to prioritize. We can just give them enough capacity to start testing, and we empower most developers who have a valid use case. But I would expect that this would not be the case for everyone. So at least
And this is changing with the adoption. Keep in mind, because
yes,
it's important to mention that
exactly.
we started pretty earlier, so last year,
Yes.
and it's very different with nowadays when even
Yeah.
everybody's talking about AI. So the use cases are much more.
Yeah, I've onboarded close to 100 developers in just a few months that want to do AI use cases. So it's word is getting around. Everybody's
It's
testing.
accelerating.
Yeah, everybody's testing. They want to see what they can do. And some of the use cases go into production in just a few weeks span. So it really depends. But I would say strive to empower everyone who wants to do this, because you don't know where exactly the biggest kind of use case will be, the biggest benefit will be from a use case perspective. So I would hope that we can empower everyone, and hopefully at least 10% of these use cases go production, and they will save whatever they can save, because this is a good start. From that point on, when people realize the power that they have, more ideas come into play and more people get involved. So it's a rolling ball, coming down the mountain.
Absolutely agree. Yep. It's exactly like rolling snowball. So yeah, finally, I would thought that once you have identified the use cases at the end that you're going, at least you have to have some kind of final meeting or make sure that the people that are dependent from the business side for these use cases you have that they are buying at the end. So it's not because otherwise this will not going to happen. But yeah, this is obvious. So there's the next step. It's I know it's a bit earlier, so it may sound to you that it's a bit earlier in the planning phase, but you can plan without knowing your company data. And you know that the data sources, the quality are very important for everything related to AI, especially when we're talking about applied AI in your organization. So it's here you can provide AI capabilities for people to try out, to chat with them with ChatGPT, etc. for fun. But when we're talking about the real use cases, I would say more than 90% of the use cases will require company data, and especially the biggest wins will require your company data. So as a first step, you have to know to create some kind of inventory. This is not something new, I would say. So if you treated your data carefully, even, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years ago, okay, let's say 5 years ago, you may be in pretty good shape with your enterprise data. Majority of large organizations have even separate teams taking care of that. So it really depends. In some cases, it may be a big challenge. In some cases, it may be something which is already in place, but you shall start with inventory of your data. So you have to big catalog, where's your data, the data sources. You have to know who is the owner of the specific data for each data set. You have to know the actual data formats, the actual volume, how frequency this data is uploaded. Because at the end, for the specific use case, this may impact multiple categories in your, how to say, use case evaluation, because they could be very big impactful use case, which on a high level looks easy to be performed, but when you deep differ and you see that you have the data in, let's say, 4 different places in 5 different formats, and it's how to say, the quality is not that good. It's better to have it as early as possible before starting the use case. And in that case, you're not going to prioritize this use case because it will bring the complexity too high, and technical constraints also would be a significant challenge. So we mentioned that also it's important to have quality data. That meta successful models, latest successes are just because they have much better data. I mean, all the models, the improvement of the models, the majority of the improvement of the models is that they have better and more data which is with better quality, if we can say that way. So if your data is not in it doesn't have a good quality, so it's not it doesn't have accuracy, it's not complete, it's not consistent, and at the end it's not relevant. This will impact at the end the outcome of let's say your general exercise. So it's important to do a quality assessment, if we can say that way, where you can identify the gaps in your data quality that could impact your AI initiative. Nikki can share, we recently have some funny challenges with one of our clients sent us. We agreed that they'll send us some database which we can talk with, and in the end we received some CSV file, which was at the end even not CSV file. So yeah, this is really, really important. And also, we're not big data guys, but you know that in AIC you have big data people with this domain that can help in order to create some kind of data improvement plan. Is this required for your AI initiative and use case that you're looking for? So
yeah, I mean, it's yeah, for data quality, it's such an important piece when it comes to using AI tools and building out chatbots and these capabilities. This one is overlooked, and generally, from what I can tell, leadership and the people who are involved in the decision making but not involved in the technology treat AI as a sort of a magic button where you just feed it data and it automatically gives you amazing results. And the reason for that is because ChatGPT in particular has, it's such a polished and perfected tool. You can give it a lot of different types of information in different forms, and it's able to make sense out of it. But when you go and deploy something like this on an enterprise scale, and you have to create the solution from the start, you will see how difficult actually this is as a result. Because you have to remember, these tools, especially coming from OpenAI, we have the top experts in the world sitting behind them. So naturally, you're going to get the best results, obviously. But there's, multiple things in place. If you have specialized departments like data science, data analysis, business analysis, even, that will definitely help with expertise, because they've been tackling this problem with getting data into the dashboards and to the reports and cleaning the data and making it available. So it's kind of the same problem, but even more complex with AI.
True. Yeah, absolutely. And you remember that we have to compare apples to apples. So behind ChatGPT, there's a system which is not only just one model which you can use directly, but in any case, what Nikki mentioned, it's absolutely true. So you have to give it a try, and yeah, that's the reason why you have to take this seriously and think about quality improvement plan for your data if you don't receive the results. At the end, this is like people said, whatever you put it in, this is what you can expect. So if you put trash, you receive trash results, let's say that way. So another important thing is, as we mentioned earlier, it's the data governance and compliance. So you have to be very careful, and you have to about what are the current policies, procedures of your data, what are the actual protection regulations, all of this stuff. It's really important, and this will help you to have important decision afterwards, because if you have some let's say really sensitive data, it could be some patents or let's say patient data, financial data that is with highly classified data, it will impact your decision how to where to proceed with this data, because there could be some limitations. So this may require purchasing hardware in order to run it locally, because you may not be allowed, because of some regulation or procedure, to move this data to the cloud. In nowadays, you know that the clouds are supporting the majority of compliance and regulatory standards, but there could be some internal organization policies, which of course every organization have, especially the large organization, treating their data with that may not they may not allow it to go out of the organization's data centers or co-locations. So this is really important. and also if needed. So, for example, if you find some use cases which involves highly confidential data, you may have access, or you may find a way to use some, let's say, similar data or data which is for non-production environments, etc., that you can still do your use case, let's say that way.
Absolutely.
So, as a next step, you have to. It could be data infrastructure. So, that in the process of making data suitable for AI, let's say, use cases and to be able to be consumed from the large language model, there's some, let's say, operations involved. So you have to double check that your data infrastructure, you have the appropriate data infrastructure. It doesn't matter if it's on your data center or it is in the cloud, but this also will, so you have to see the data processing, the processing capabilities. It may require some infrastructure update. For example, if you have some old servers, and yeah, here you have to think more about the cloud versus on-prem solution for your AI data management. But again, this would be impacted for the previous topics that we discussed. So it could be impacted from the data governance. It could be impacted of your data inventory, sources, where they are, etc. So just take that in mind. So once you have the data ready, let's say you have a good picture of how your data landscape looks like. Before that, you evaluated the appropriate use cases that can be done. You have to decide your AI operating model. So imagine this is something similar in the, I would not say only the cloud adoption times, but here we also have this important, this important part of our strategy execution planning, where we have to decide how we're going to operate in general, how we're going to adopt the AI in what way we're going to manage it. So we have multiple options, 3 options. If I have to be concise, we can do it centralizedly and this is usually the first step. So this is the in best case scenarios, I would say that first you should start centralizedly by having this AI COE, which will enable you to move to decentralization after that, and at the end having the hybrid model. So if I have to jump a bit, what Nikki mentioned, when the business comes first, we can consider this decentralized model, but at the end it's not decentralized models. It is, as we love to say, it is the island adoption. So everybody is adopting it in a way for itself. It's buying hardware. Definitely not something that large organization which value the standardization are wanted to. So just to recap, the centralized model is when we have the single central AI team, which serves the entire organization, which is the beginning of what we believe it should be appropriate AI adoption journey with establishment of the AI COE, because these would be the people which will enable the entire organization.
Apologies. He has some issues, but he's back.
Yep, sorry. Just to repeat, Starlink have issues from time to time, from 5 to 10 seconds.
Well, it's been an hour or so great.
Yeah, it's
knowing where you are right now, I think it's by far the best experience that we can get from you.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. So I was saying for the decentralized model is when we have the AI capabilities distributed across the business units, which is actually the main job of the AI COE team, being able to because we discussed the importance of scalability of this AI team. It can scale without distributing and providing the knowledge and capabilities to the other teams. And at the end, we are ending with the hybrid, hybrid operating models, where we have the centralized AI COE, which only enables and provide they're building the capabilities and support the decentralized AI teams, which is the best case scenario. So there could be factors to consider, like, of course, there's not one solution fits all, as we know, but there could be some, it's important to understand our organizational structure. It may be easier to, if we are a small company, we don't have the capabilities to build the AI COE to pay much with this. It's still better to have, let's say, to follow the decentralized approach. So allow everybody to experiment, to work on whatever they would like. It's still better than, remember, having idea is better to not having idea. So, and also keep in mind that you may not be able with the central AI COE, as we discussed, you may not be able to run everything important for your business. So in that case, you might like to start with the centralization, but there still would be some teams that want to get things done. So this can, the scalability of AI initiatives may impact your operating models. One important thing which is we are seeing is coming, and recently, is the availability of AI talent and people which would be important for doing this stuff. So this could also impact your operating models. I would not discuss much about it's pretty clear that if you value the standardization, it is, you should follow the centralized approach. And if you think about the flexibility and scalability, you may, as I said, for small organization, you may look for the centralized approach. And of course, there could be some governance requirements, again, policies, etc., that they may also impact your operating models.
Yeah, I think what I can add is from the real world example, especially now, is that if you're late in creating the COE, I mean, if it's 2 years into AI and you have not done anything, I'm pretty sure a lot of your organization is doing something already, and you just don't know it. So you're probably going to be forced into creating a hybrid model because you already have decentralized teams working. But at least try and understand where they are and try to push upon them different, best practices, standards, organization, governance, because otherwise it will be a complete free fall from that point on. So while you may not be able to do a complete centralized model just because you're late and teams are already too far into using AI, a hybrid approach would be a compromise, but it's still better than nothing,
So absolutely, just two things to add. When each of these approaches can be accomplished, as Nikki mentioned, in a good way or bad way. So there is no, I mentioned in the beginning, the best possible scenario to use these approaches. So something starting decentrally, then using also the power of the flexibility of decentralization, and at the end make everything hybrid. So that's important thing, and also something from the real world, which together with Nikki we really don't is the checkbox adoption. So as Nikki mentioned, if you are forced to create the AI COE and you created it for the sake because you've been forced, This will not last much, let's say that way.
It's actually
So
better not to create a COE at this point.
exactly, exactly,
At least
exactly.
you're not
So,
going to be spending money on it.
indeed, and wasting people's time, let's say that way. But again, too much politics in large organizations. Hopefully, this will change soon because of the technology. We are clearly optimistic in that.
Well,
I'm more clearly optimistic than Nikki,
well,
but there should
I'm
be a
not
balance.
optimistic the organizations will change. It's just we're thinking that a lot of these large organizations will not be that big maybe at some point
Ah,
just because of AI.
exactly.
But yeah,
It's let's say that it will allow smaller players to become bigger in that way, which are
could be.
more efficient.
We'll see.
Yep, yep. We'll see. So in these operating models, I think roles, responsibility, this kind of stuff, we really touch it in a lot of details in the building the AI COE. But if you're not going into, let's say, central following the central approach, let's say, with as Nikki mentioned, because you don't have AI COE, you still have to think about these roles and responsibilities and to define some key roles in your organization. So at least someone should take the responsibility of data scientists, ML engineers, etc. Yeah, and for these operating models, again, if you miss the AI COE, there should be or this could be a good time to identify the skill gaps and develop a plan to address them. Because this is tightly connected with the operating models. Again, we discuss the factors that you have to consider. So if you don't have AI talents, you're not going to do much, let's say, within your organization. So yeah, identifying the skill gaps and develop a plan to address them. I will not go in details in that because as you remember, our AI adoption framework be the big picture. You still have at the beginning actually the cultural development and establishment of the, make sure that people understand AI, know what AI, which starts few, let's say, phases earlier. So this is something which will be addressed in separate session for this time.
Right.
For the operating model, it's also important to have some kind of processes and tools in order to to have how the AI project, their AI project lifecycle will going to work. So let's say starting from the ideation, prototyping, approval, executions, all of this stuff should be at least on a high level plan and establish at this time. So we have to think about this stuff. Usually, I guess you may use. I guess you already have some kind of processes for application development, which I think it can be pretty easily translated for the current, for the AI use cases. So you can reuse this, let's say that way. Same for the tooling perspective. You may have the appropriate tools for doing that. Regarding the, we're not going in much details about how to develop the models, how to test them and monitor them, but this is also a time where you may think about this if this is required by your identified use cases, etc. at the moment. Keep in mind that let's say the majority of organizations are not ready for doing such a things, and having model development, testing, and monitoring can be fine-tuning, etc. Can take some time. Okay, fine-tuning is easy right now. Let's say not that hard, but it depends to the data. But what I'm trying to say is that be concise with your time. So here the time is really important. So focus on low-hanging fruits that have some impact, and yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I think the last but not least, we ended with the pilot project, huh? So after we prioritized the use cases, we identified actually our pilot projects. So on a high level, I don't think that pilot execution of the pilot project differs than what we saw in the past. So it should be we should be looking for the quick wins, the initiatives. These projects should demonstrate something, as we mentioned. They should have some impact. They should not be only the forgotten test machines that nobody's been using the past few years, let's say, or solution that we want to migrate to the cloud, which was actually never used by anyone. So they should have some meaning. But yeah, in the ending, you have to, you already selected your project, so you have to plan their execution, like, putting obvious things like success criteria, objectives. You should have like just regular plan of executing and trying to move forward with completing this, let's say, pilot use cases that you identified earlier. Of course, you should have some measurable. It's important. Pay attention to the measurable objectives and success criteria, and we have to think about the risk management, KPIs, all of this stuff. I think it's pretty common, nothing new, as we mentioned, but it's important to have it in place when running your pilots.
Yeah, the KPIs are probably one of the biggest issues to solve, because how do you define a measurable KPI for an AI project, especially if the capital gains or the gains from AI are not really measurable. But there's
This was always been challenge. It's always been challenge. So it's but there's a way. I mean, it's for sure. It's yeah.
It's something that needs to be looked at. But like I said, in the initial phases, allow more people to come in and provide their use cases. Pick out as many use cases as possible, because for the most part, a lot of these will be done directly from the business side or from the kind of the empowered developers, and you just want to nurture and have an oversight on what they're doing, but don't constrain them. Make sure they understand the technology and they feel empowered so they can do more. That's, I think, one of the clear messages as a CEO is that you want to provide, you are giving AI a chance in the organization. So that's why you want to give it out to as many as people as possible. So have many pilot projects. Many will fail. That's expected, but many will not fail as well. And of the ones that won't fail, there will be certainly a lot of different discoveries and things that we can redo and do in other use cases. So it's a journey. For what I'm saying is, it's not everything is visible when you start the pilot, or when you start the pilots, it becomes apparent after you start working on it. You discover how useful your data is, how much you can actually, how much better you can maintain it and prep it going forward, so you can work with AI. I mean, a lot of decisions are being made in the middle of working through these pilots.
That's absolutely true. And keep in mind, if any of you have challenges with, let's say, identify the use cases or translating, building appropriate KPIs, we would be more than happy to help. So reach us directly. We already, as we mentioned earlier, we believe that this use case for AI can help in any single business. We don't believe that there is business which AI can't help, and we already have, I would say, considerable amount of experience to build these KPIs. So even that it's a challenge, please let us know if you are in such a phase of your journey. So at the end, the planning phase is we always say for each phase that it's critical, but of course it's critical for translating your AI strategy into actually accountable initiative. So when you're carefully gathering and importantly, evaluating your use cases, assessing your data landscape, have better vision of how it looks like. Think about what operation model is more suitable in your current situation, as Nikki mentioned, based on where you are in your AI journey adoption. Plan your pilot project. You actually build the foundation, which is important for the successful AI implementation. So one important thing in nowadays, because as we mentioned with Nikki earlier, you see that each few days there's new models pop up, new ways of doing stuff pop-ups, is that if some changes are needed, do them appropriately. So treat it as iterative process, evaluate things frequently. I mean, there could be better way to solve this. That's why we let's say, double, triple down on the importance of having the right people and to having the AI COE, especially for large organization.
Right.
So, yep, I think for today that's it. And yeah, with a solid plan in place for the AI strategy execution, and then on the next session, we will start preparing your organization for the actual implementation.
Yeah, don't be late.
Or if you're late, remember that there is no. It's better to do it now comparing to never. So you're never too late, let's say that way.
Better do it now than tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best way to do it is yesterday. So
thank you, everyone. Apologies for not doing this live, but we still kept our promise to have something in the summer. I think we'll try and do one more in August if we can find the schedule for it. But yeah, we really enjoy these. It's not the most difficult part for doing these is organizing, not doing them themselves. That's really it. But
yeah, actually the technical setup it's always the most difficult part. But yeah.
we really hope at some point we'll kind of restart the whole meeting in person
This
type of meetings. That's what we enjoyed the most before. So it's just difficult to do it, but we're hopeful that as we progress our AI initiatives and we focus more and more on the technology, I think we'll get an opportunity to do these in person.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy the summer, and yeah, let us know if you have any feedback, comments, whatever in all the channels that we have: Meetup, LinkedIn, and mainly YouTube.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.